What is up, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time. Glorious little Tuesday slate. It's Tuesday, right?
It's Tuesday, yes.
I honestly lose track. It is a small slate, that much I'm certain of. 3-gamer. A lot to get into. First, though, I want to rewind and go backwards to roughly 24 hours ago. 24 hours and 30 minutes or so. Means you were stressing, you were solo. You pass with flying colors, man.
I guess not according to my lineup, but I hope everyone else did pretty well.
I dropped about 350. I put down a 350 piece.
Yeah, you had Cade. So like the two guys I was worried about not playing in the first set of games both like tore up, and like that was Cade and Spencer Dinwiddie. Did you play Dinwiddie too?
I did. Had I played Dinwiddie, I would have won the tournament. I played Lowry instead.
Dinwiddie. Ooh, that stings.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm pretty sure I said to play Lowry. My bad. So yeah, take back what you said. I ruined it for you.
Whatever. I mean, I came 11th out of like 1,200 people. I felt pretty damn good about where I ended up. Just taking your advice. So
did you double your money?
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. It's crazy how like if you come like 15th to 11th, you get like 3x. But if you come in the top 10, like the money just goes up exponentially. Anyways. I just wanted to give you some kudos because it was a lot going on. I thought you did a great job.
I appreciate it.
Second, Tuttle was making fun of my lighting. This is going to sound bougie, but we got some people digging a pool and they knocked out power to like half my house, including my office. So if my lighting looks shitty, it's that's the reason why. And then I called them. I was like, hey, I need power. And they're like, well, you signed a contract that says go F yourself. I was like, what? So now I don't have power or AC, and apparently I'm supposed to go F myself is what I've learned from this process.
For how many days?
I'm hiring an electrician to fix it in like 2 days, but apparently that one's on me. So that's fun. Anyways, hey, we've got more important things to get to than my drama. So let's talk.
This seems like a good story to me.
I just couldn't believe that. I texted the guy. I'm like, hey man, I don't have any AC, and I got a pregnant wife.
They're done with their job.
Yeah, they were just like, well, you signed the contract, bud. The guy was being aggressive, like calling me bud. It's like
that's like the last thing you'd fall on if you're them. You're like, you say, "Oh, sorry, we're going to try to fix this."
Right. No, they didn't go that route. They went like, "Hey," they go, "Well, what'd you expect them to do?" Like, I don't know, not
the dark ruin my power. Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. That's just life. Everything goes south on you somehow. But hey, let's talk about the good stuff, and that is this slate. We got Mr. Tuttle as well. Tuttle, how are you, man?
Yeah, I was wondering if I was going to get an introduction or not.
Everyone knows you, Tuttle. You don't need an introduction.
I understand. First of all, I didn't know Monday was turning into solo shows with Meansy. Apparently, that's a thing. And the other thing was
last week. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. I understood Meansy's stress. I was on ownership last night, and we thought we had everything covered, and then everything unexpected came down, and it was not fun. It's very stressful.
Roth was like,
hopefully we don't have that
2 minutes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Every 2 minutes. It's like, yeah, breaking news. Gotta interject here. Yeah. Let's see. We got a few notes here. First off, Gophers fan says, we got to get to the important stuff right off the bat. Like, is the Manning cast curse real? And can we play Draymond tonight?
I'm going to play Draymond. Right. I'm not real. I don't like narratives. I'm certainly not buying the cross sport person going on a simulcast for the Monday. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, that's stretching it.
I fully buy it, and I recommend a full fade on Draymond. But guys, let's get into the slate. We are starting 10 minutes later, and now we've bullshitted for 5 minutes, so we got 25 minutes to dig into it. But I imagine it's fairly straightforward. Means.
You are correct. I'm not going to take that long because it's a 3-game slate and there's only one injury situation that we know of that we're dealing with. I'm sure a lot of you were wondering, we had a man projected in for most of the day. After some a roundtable discussion in our Slack channel, we decided to move him to doubtful and remove him. I thought that was the best way to go for everyone to benefit the most here with our projections and whatnot. So keep that in mind. That he could still, he's still technically questionable on the injury report, but we think he's closer to doubtful. That's why we're moving. So I have 2 guys tagged on each side, Patty Mills and Kevin Durant. I honestly don't think there's any like completely no-brainer plays on this entire slate on the other side. So if you disagree, feel free to not listen to what I have to say on those two guys. But I like Patty. They announced he's starting to, which is good, I think, for his minutes upside. And he played like 19 or 20 second half minutes in that last game when Harris went down. I like KD tonight. I think there's minutes upside on these main Nets guys. They play the Cavs tomorrow night. The Cavs roll out like their whole front court. They're going to be really, really shorthanded. And both of these games are in Brooklyn. Tonight's game is on national TV. I'm not certain this is a thing, but I think they're just slightly longer, TV timeout breaks. So I could see Nash like letting these guys get up upper 30s minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if like KD or Harden play like 40 tonight. That's just, speculation, but that's ultimately why I landed on KD as my favorite spin. Let's get into some options here for cash games. The guard spots, I think it's I personally like Reggie Jackson and Derek White the most in this like mid-tier. Conley, his usage has been really down the past like 3 or so games. And like, you can't act too much on that, but like, man, 4 games. Geez. Like he was like 17 or below in the last 4. Like that's a little worrisome. He got there in one of those and, the price is fine. Like it's like, we're factoring that in a little bit. We're not waiting all of it, obviously, but enough reason for me not to like go overboard on like, he's an absolute no-brainer for me. I do like White and Jackson just a little more. You're probably at shooting guard, probably paying up for one of Harden or Paul George. I slightly prefer Paul George, but I mean, it's pretty much a coin flip in my opinion. So, yeah, that's really it. Those guys are really who I'm looking at. So let's go to forward. Let's see here. All right. I have KD. I think Tobias is a good pairing with him. You can play both of these guys at either forward spot, so you have plenty of optionality on where you're going to put them. When we moved Man out, Hardenstein got a little bit of a bump here, just because there's more minutes to go around because they're kind of shorthanded as is. So I think you can play him. I think you can play like him and Blake as cheap guys here. Like you can put those two guys at the power forward spots, put Tobias and Kevin Durant at the small forward spots, and you're rolling. That looks good to me. Those are the main options I'm considering. This just position's pretty weak in general, like both forward spots once you get past the expensive guys. So I'd be perfectly fine punting with those two guys, playing 2 expensive guys and rolling. You can play Draymond if you want, if you're not going that route. Bojan's fine. Nothing really to go on further than that. And then center, Gobert is 8'3", Drummond's 8'5". I think those are fine. I'm not certain you have to absolutely play those guys because you can play Blake at center, you can play Zubats at center. Those are perfectly fine. I'm not entirely sold that there's one specific way you need to go. That's probably your decision, like one of the main decision points on this, like that, and like who have like I think you can get maybe three or four studs, probably 3 comfortable studs with like KD, Paul George, Harden, and throw Tobias in there too. I think you like picking those. Those are your main decision points on FanDuel, if you ask me. I don't honestly have a strong lean either way. So that's all I got.
Okay, just enlighten me. Is Gobert good for a particular reason that I'm unaware of? I remember reading your article today. It was like, I rarely call Gobert a lock, but in this case, what?
I mean, and that was a DK discussion too.
Yes, that was DK.
And this is, I mean, you can see he's not even a screaming value. He's the lone positive value. It's just the slate. To answer your question, no.
Okay, it's not that he's good; it's that everyone else just sucks.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Fair enough. All right. Well, we'll get to DK in a bit. First, we want some tournament takes from Tuttle, in particular on the FanDuel. Tuttle.
So, yeah, 3-game slate. Again, it's more context to slate than actual plays themselves. The biggest thing is again, we're treating him as out. We saw poor reporter speculation that makes it sound like he's more doubtful than actually questionable. With that in mind, a lot of this projected ownership is potentially going to come out a little bit too high on these Clippers guys. So if you want to play these Clippers guys with the assumption that man's out, I would not shy away from that. Because again, remember, we're the ones assuming he's out at this point in time. Not everybody's doing that. So I do like all these Clippers guys, and I'm not overly worried about their ownership getting too high. I feel like that might be a question. Not concerned about that at all. And I also like playing with the idea that man's out, because if he's in, it's easier to make swaps if you have more positions to swap with the later two games. So I do prefer playing with the assumption that man is out. And no, I'm not worried about some of these Clippers guys getting too high owned. In terms of actual specific tournament plays, those Clippers guys that I mentioned, we don't know rotation wise exactly what will happen out behind some of the main guys, like Justice Winslow, if man is out, could run into 20, 25 minutes. He's typically been a decently high usage guy. He's somebody you could look into if is like a real deep tournament throw, a dart throw. Amir Coffey would be another one that could potentially benefit and could run into more minutes, and those guys won't be owned at all. So that's something to take into consideration. In terms of guys that are just going to be probably lower owned than they should, this is not necessarily true for FanDuel just because Tobias Harris is super cheap there. But in general, Philly and Utah, that game is generally going to have the lower ownership of the three games. So if you're just looking for players like a Donovan Mitchell, he's got upside, similar upside to some of these other guys, and he's going to be lower owned. Not in that Philly Utah game, but if you're just looking for lower ownership, someone like Steph Curry, he's projected to be the lowest owned of anybody priced above 10K on this slate. We know what sort of upside he has. He's been just tearing it up as of late. So Curry used as a bring back in that Brooklyn game is completely fine as well. That's mostly, I think, what I want to talk about. DeJounte Murray, nobody's going to own DeJounte Murray. He's another guy that's higher priced. I don't like him nearly as much as a play as like Steph Curry or anything like that. But if you just want to play the ownership game, he's somebody that has shown enough upside in the past to do it as well.
What did you say Curry's projected ownership was? Less than 10%?
20% on FanDuel and right around the same on DraftKings, which that's low for a 3-game slate.
Right. It's a 3-game slate, and the guy can get to 70 points. Like that can really happen. So that does seem like a pretty solid tournament play there. Okay, Means, let's talk about some DK cash here. What's different?
Not a ton. They got a little easier when we moved man out, just because like some of these Clippers guys are okay. Like again, this is relative to the other plays on the slate. Like no one here is otherworldly. So I have the same guys tagged. A lot of just looking overarching for this build on DK, a lot of what I'm struggling with is whether I want to play Gobert or not. Like our projections really like him. He has really weird rotations, at least lately, like that. Like, because I was looking at his minutes, and like sometimes they're normal-ish. Like this one, he played 35 minutes, but like he comes in and doesn't come out. Like he came in here at the end of the third, didn't come out. I'm almost positive the same thing happened in this other one. Came in like the middle of the third, came back in the middle of the third, and basically didn't come out until, I think they pretty much pulled the plug here. It's like, I don't know. His minutes are weird, mainly because of his rotations. That was just something I wanted to point out because I was just looking at it. That's not any reason. Like we have him for 33. I think that's a perfectly fine projection, and he's fine. It's just, do I want to play like him? And I'm trying to think like what some of the things I was doing, like him and Keldon Johnson, or do I want to play like Paul George and someone a little cheaper? I was kind of leaning towards the Paul George route. It also gets you like if I don't play him, and I can play him and Paul George and KD, and that's fine too. Then you're playing like Zubas and Hardenstein, like that's just getting, and like maybe even Winslow, like that's just getting a little too weird. So I was kind of just doing KD and just Paul George in most of my builds. I think either are fine. Let me just go through some quick. There's not many guys. I'm just going to go really quick here through who else I'm considering here, because there's not a big cash game pool in my opinion.
Okay.
So I have Patty. You can play either guard spot, and then for me it's like Reggie Jackson, Eric Bledsoe. Those are two really good ones. Again, assuming man's out, and then like Kennard, he has shooting guard, small forward. That's pretty much it. Those are the main guys for me. Let me just double check shooting guard itself. Yeah, maybe Firkin as the last piece. I was $100 off of the lineup that I liked that would have gotten him in there, but I just couldn't do it. And I asked DK again; they would not give me the $100 extra. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
For everything you've done for them, it's bizarre.
I know. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's move over to the forward spots. Like for me, it's just, I mean, the KD start with KD, and then power forward is like I really like Draymond. I didn't mention Paul George at shooting guard. He has shooting guard and small forward. I like, those are basically like 4 guys I'm really honing in on. And that's why I'm like spending down at like Patty at guard, Bledsoe at guard, at those guys, Kennard at, one of the guard spots, maybe. Like those are the spin down seems to be a guard and the spin ups are at forward. If you want to get some side relief at forward, it's probably like Blake Griffin or somebody. And then, Kennard has that also. So not really anything else I need to go into. Batum as the last piece, nothing really exciting. Then center, I already talked about Gobert. Harden, and these two, both of the Clippers centers are viable cash game pieces. They're going to have to play pretty tight rotation without Man if Man is out, and just if Man is out, it's hard for them to go small. So these guys are fine, especially on a 3-game slate. Wouldn't have even mentioned them last night, but we got to mention tonight. So it's one of those 3 guys at the center spot. You can play a couple of them if you want, but it's Gobert up top, Harden, and Zubac, and then I'm done.
That was very quick. You're going to leave us with an awkward amount of time left over, and there's going to be no questions.
No way. Tuttle's got to talk. Tuttle's going to rant about something.
You're going to get ocean trivia soon.
I got nothing to rant about
before you know it.
What'd you say, Tuttle?
I got nothing to rant about, man.
See where you put us. All right, Tuttle, you don't have to rant, but do tell us what you're thinking over on DK. And I'll start with this from DY. In a DK GPP, would you just lock Curry and KD and then play some chalk value plays? Does that make you different enough and give you enough upside?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know if it's going to get you completely different, but that's fine. I think it's not the most comfortable thing to do. It's not the most common approach, and I'm not going to bash anybody if they don't want to do it. I think the highest leverage or the most leverage on this slate on DraftKings that you can find is just hammering the mid-tier. Mm-hmm. So we're hammering Rudy Gobert, we're hammering Draymond Green. Good plays, but we're not going with the stars and scrubs approach because that's what is getting spit out everywhere and optimizers all around the industry. It's playing Patty Mills, it's playing Hardenstein, it's playing Kennard. And in realities, like Mills checks out, but some of these other guys aren't that great of value plays, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And even Mills, yes, he's starting. Yes, he's going to get minutes, completely dependent on scoring the ball, right. Which is a path to failure.
Sure.
So yeah, like I think easily the best way to get leverage on the slate is just to hammer some of those mid-tier guys. I mentioned Dre, even Donovan Mitchell could kind of classify as that. Tyrese Maxey, he's not going to be high owned, but he's getting a ton of minutes. Andre Drummond, a little bit higher up there in terms of pricing. Thad Young at 5,300. Jordan Poole, 5,900. So yeah, I think lineup construction is going to be more valuable than specifically picking, a single player to go heavy on a slate like this.
Okay. I think that was great. I think that is a good idea. And I think that was excellently explained. Guys, anything you want to add or just get to the QQs?
QQs, man.
QQs it is. All right. Let's go to Chinatown. DK Cash means Bledsoe and Bruce Brown or D White and Batum.
We'll do the first one.
GD. In a DK GPP, you want Bembry or Iguodala?
Oh, that was GPP, right? I hope so.
It was DK GPP.
Bembry.
The one shot, the Martians have the laser beam pointed at Earth. I want Iguodala.
I want Iguodala. Stephen A.
It wasn't Stephen A. It was.
It was it?
No, it was the guy with the lisp. Who used to he Max Kellerman.
Yes.
Kellerman. I want Iguodala. Oh man. All right. J Mango. FanDuel GPP, PG or Harden?
PG slightly.
Achilles, DK Cash. Got to give him credit for properly phrasing this question. Keldon Big Body Johnson and Zubac and Hartenstein. Say what?
Go ahead.
Right,
I was going to say, he knows how to get you to ask it.
Right, yeah. Keldon, Zubac, Hartenstein, or Dre, Griffin, Kennard.
Who was the stud in the first one? Was that Paul George?
There was none. It's Keldon. It's Keldon, Zubac, and Hartenstein, or Dre, Griffin, Kennard.
I would do the second one. Yeah, I like the second one a little better.
I do too, and I love Big Body. Jay Mango, any interest in Zubac and a FanDuel GPP?
Yep.
Ball says DK Cash, Rjax, or Big Body Keldon Johnson.
I would play Rjax personally.
KM, DK Cash question for you means Kennard, Eubanks, or Griffin last spot.
Kind of landing there myself, and I don't really know. I think I'm leaning towards Kennard.
Okay. Absolutely love this question from Michael. How about Fading Durant for Harden on DK? Very close projection. The ownership is half. I feel like Harden's been playing better, but maybe I'm making that up.
I mean,
that's viable for sure. I think the biggest question would be, can you play the two together? Which I would.
Ooh.
It's not terrible on a 3-game slate, but I would probably try to avoid it.
Is that a McGregor walk by Roth sitting in his chair?
I don't know. It was like a penguin walk.
Or that was like a mix of the McGregor walk and the Bernie.
The Bernie.
He did a little mix of both. Yeah.
Okay, I like it. Let's see. FanDuel Cash means Mellow Rose says Iggy or Hartenstein.
I would probably play Hartenstein on that one.
DUI, DKGPP, Bruce Brown or Dembry, which is a Bembry, I think.
Bembry. I would go Bruce Brown, though.
All right. J Mango, FanDuel GPP, classy Mike Conley.
Yes, for sure. He's fine.
Okay. All right. And this question just got Conley brought up again there by J-Dub. So yes. J Sam says, hey, is it dumb to play guys like Gary Payton and Iggy in the same lineup for single entry GPPs? Seems like those guys could maybe be productive in there with their higher fantasy points per minute.
So Iggy is not a high fantasy point per minute guy. Nor is Gary Payton, I believe. He's probably higher.
One of them could both run into more minutes, though. But yeah, they're not high per minute guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't play them both. No.
Okay. Freyas, how many Clippers or too many Clippers in DK Cash means?
I'm not limiting it. I mean, you're going to land on a certain amount organically because there's one good spin up and like they're popping as good cheap ones, so I wouldn't worry about it. Like. I'm if you're going with my build, you already have Mills and Durant in there, so that's 2 of your 8. So like, I could see you playing like 4 or even 5 or something. I mean, I don't think you limit it. It's just there's Paul George, there's Reggie Jackson, there's Eric Bledsoe, there's Luke Kennard, there's Hardenstein and Zubac. Like, there's plenty of like I wouldn't limit it.
Okay, all right. You said Durant, but I think you meant.
No, I said if you're going with my build, you're putting in Patty Mills and Durant. That takes out 2 of your 8 spots. So
okay.
So then the rest of it, you're probably littering with Clippers was the way I was trying to explain. I probably did not say that properly.
Okay, I got you. All right. Achilles, FanDuel Cash, Drum or Gobert?
And I don't have a strong take on this at all. If it's mine, I would probably play Gobert.
Okay. Jay, DKGPP, last piece, Zubac or Batum for you, Tuttle?
Zubac.
DK Cash from It's Orange, baby. Rudy and Jackson or George and McDermott?
Mine have been leading me towards this latter, but it was not leading me towards McDermott. So I would even be fine eating some dollars and like going down to a Bruce Brown or a Kennard or a Eubanks even. I don't think I would go McDermott personally.
Okay. Chinatown says DK Cash, R. Jackson, Bruce Brown, or White and Batum?
feel like that was the very first question we took. I would say the first one.
Okay, he says I effed up my question somehow. There was like Bledsoe in there instead of one of them, so it's kind of a correction.
I would still do the first one. Yeah, I got you.
Achilles, DK, Cash, White, Zubac, or Dre and Kennard?
Second one.
I got lost. Here we go. Timmy Tebow. Sorry if it's already been asked, but DK Cash, Brown, or Kennard?
I don't have a strong lean on this one, guys. There's a bunch of like thin 4K plays that I just don't have a strong feeling. I'd probably play Kennard in mine. I don't know. Okay, that is absolutely fair. DY, DKGPP, Tuttle. You want Keldon Big Body Johnson or some guy named Thaddeus?
I feel like you're leading me to an answer.
I mean,
yeah, I was weighted.
So it's definitely Keldon straight up, but there's also a $700 difference. So I feel like that would be maybe potentially more of a 2v2. I like Thad Young tonight. So if the $700 gets you something, I like going Thad Young.
Good answer, Tuttle. All right. Beaner says, any thoughts on Clarkson?
He's fine in GPP.
All right. KPT says, FanDuel large GPP. Oh, this is spicy. How about Curry, Durant, and Paul George jammed in with crappy value guys around him? I mean, that's not chalk, right? That's not chalk, all three of them. It's just too thin.
KD and Paul, yeah.
It's a little
KD
thin.
and Paul George are.
Yeah. But nobody's
I would take out Paul George and then play like Draymond and like just game stack the first one. If you're doing that, that's what I'd do. But.
All right. Well, you're not the tournament guy, means.
That's a very good point. Don't listen to me.
Shut your mouth. No. No, obviously you're
welcome. We have like 1 minute, by the way.
Oh, snap. You're right. FanDuel single entry, Tobias Griffin or Kennard Zubac?
First.
FanDuel cash, Zubac, Conley, or Thad and White?
First one.
DKGPP, any interest in Looney and a pivot off Hartenstein?
It's fine. I'd rather go Hartenstein and allow more opportunities for swaps later if man news does not break your way.
All right. If I'm hoping for a blowout in the Brooklyn game, which cheap play would get more run, Bielitsa or Pascal?
Pascal plays for the Jazz.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, he's on the Jazz now. Yeah, so Bielitsa.
Well, I'll go Bielitsa.
Okay, yeah, that makes that easy. DKGPP, Bruce Brown, and Maxey or Harris and Winslow?
I kind of like Harris Winslow, but again, you'll have to keep a close eye on the man news because Winslow's completely out of play if man plays.
Okay, excellent. With that, we've hit the lock. And I think we did a damn good job of getting there.
Quiet Storm edition tonight too. I forgot. We haven't brought that back this year, and it upsets me a little bit.
It kind of lost its mojo. I don't know. I lost my confidence in like the Quiet Storm. I don't know.
And we're probably the only two who find it funny, and everyone else probably hates it. So
I think that might be it. Yeah.
If you guys.
Yeah. I'll bring it back next round. There we go. All right. Well, hey, there's no more questions coming in. It's it's a small one. We've got dinner to eat, and
Roth has no power.
I have no power. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's hot as hell in here. It's like 82 degrees in Houston today.
Just loving life.
Yeah, great stuff. All right, let's get out of here. For Tuttle, for Meansy, and for Eli, working hard behind the scenes, guys. We appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.